Here's my next project I'm getting ready to start. My neighbors sold their property and moved away. Actually, he passed away and his wife sold the property and moved to Oregon. But this was in one of their sheds. It's been in there for 20 years and it's starting to get cracks and just falling apart. We get freezing weather up here and super hot, so I'm going to cut it in half. I don't know if you can see these lines. Let's see. I'm going to cut it in half. There's a line right there. It's 8 feet long. And then I'm going to cut the bench part into a 45 and try and make it so I can attach it and assemble it and disassemble it whenever I need to. But I'm going to put this in the bunkhouse in Montana for a little corner unit for the dining area. So I'm ready to start taking this apart. I'm hoping I can get everything apart and then cut it in pieces so I don't crack or break anything. So stay tuned. Well, I've got it almost completely apart. So somebody has worked on this or played with it before. The center leg is made out of plywood, and I'm going to have to dig the caps out on the seat side and unscrew it. But on I guess this would be the left-hand side if you're facing it, it had 6 screws holding it in place, and it was just flush mount. So I got those 6 screws out. They were flathead screws, so I'm pretty sure they're old. And that's just flush mount up there. So that part might have been added later. And then on the right hand side, there's 15 finish nails holding it in place, which I got apart. But, excuse my fingers. There's one big giant crack all the way down, but you can see where it was like routed out to fit the seat in there. I'm pretty sure that's original. So I'm going to get all these nails out and screws out and then flip that bench over and try and get that center one out. The design that's cut into the bottom is the same, just smaller. And what is strange, on the end of this, they added a little piece right there on both of them. So I don't understand why, but it is what it is. Let's see if we can get it apart. And I got both my helpers right here as close as they possibly can to help me. So in this slot, there was 3 3.5-inch screws and 3 3.5-inch finish nails. So far that hasn't cracked, but right now you can see these 3 plugs. I need to take those out, which they're probably glued in. So I've got a chisel, small chisel, and then there's probably 3 screws holding it in. I don't see any nails, so hopefully I don't hurt anything. Actually, this whole area is going to get cut out anyways, but still, I'd rather save it if I can. There's 3 big flathead screws in there. Hopefully I can get them out. Well, I got it. It was tough. They wanted to strip, but hey, that's cool. So next I got to start cutting these suckers in half. This is the look I was going for. The back of the seats recline back a little bit, so I'll have to figure out the post. Lots of trial and error. I'm really good at the error part. Of course, the first blade that I grabbed was dull. Had to open up a new pack. Just an FYI, it's been in the high 90s all week. Not so fun for working outside. Well, I had a minor setback on my church pew project. I went to Harbor Freight and picked up 2 of these clamps. They both seemed to work in the store, but when it came time to clamp down the 2x4s where I'm joining it together, one of the clamps didn't work, which made it so the seat part was flat. I tried to get it the best I could, but it didn't get the concave in it, so I'm gonna have to take that apart. Also, I bought these hex head screws, finish screws. They're small. I think it is a number 10, a T10. And the tip that came with the screws stripped after about 8 screws, so I had to go to Meeks and buy a couple of new tips, so hopefully I can take it apart. I couldn't take it apart. That the screw tips didn't strip, but the head itself did. So we'll see what we can do. Hopefully, I used Gorilla Glue on it too, so hopefully I can take it apart. Right here I had to recut my 2x4 brace because when I marked it upside down, and it wouldn't work with the 45s on the end. Well, here is what I was going for. I've got it pretty close. It's gonna have to be on level ground. This concrete is not level by any means, but I'm gonna take it completely apart and bring it home where I have a decent table saw and a miter saw, compound miter saw, and I'm going to take this post out. That is a 6x6 pressure treated post. It's very heavy and loaded with splinters. But I'm going to take apart some pallets. My son dropped off a bunch of pallets at my house, and I think I'm going to make a fake post to go in this corner for support, but hopefully it's going to be really light. But I got my pocket hole jig out and drilled those with the pocket hole jig so I can have a decent attachment point. So I'll get it home, sand it all out, get everything as square as I possibly can. The cut between the two seats is too much of a gap, and I need a perfectly flat piece of ground to make sure, and a nice bench to make sure I get everything as tight as possible. So we'll see what happens.
Part 2 coming soon.